We look at the profit loss statement, we look at the balance sheet, we look at the statement of cash flows, but it's not just a set of financial statements that you file once a year for tax time. There's so much insight that you can get out of those when you understand what they mean and what we can do with them. It's a really powerful thing to look at, and it's not boring at all. It becomes very exciting, and it's not rocket science either. It's very learnable, and I just want everyone to feel really empowered and equipped. Like, I've got this. This is my company. I know how to make decisions. I feel really empowered and equipped, and I know what I'm looking at here.
Marcus Aurelius said, "What we do in life echoes through eternity." What is your life echoing through eternity? Welcome to Echoes Through Eternity with Dr. Jeffrey Skinner. Our mission is to inspire, engage, and encourage leaders from across the globe to plant missional churches and be servant leaders. So join us and hear the stories of servant leaders reverberating lives as God echoes them through eternity. Brought to you by Missional Church Planting and Leadership Development and Dynamic Church Planting International.
Welcome into Echoes Through Eternity. I am your host, Dr. Jeffrey D. Skinner. I am joined in the studio today by Lauren Rilling. She calls herself a fractional CFO with a heart for biblical stewardship. So she brings simple financial strategy to the businesses so that they can grow with more profit, charity, and impact. And I ran across her on LinkedIn the other day and just felt like that her heart kind of vibed with the heart of Echoes Through Eternity and what our mission is here to kind of echo the voices of people that are serving in out-of-the-box context. So welcome in, Lauren. It's great to have you.
Well, it's great to be here. I so appreciate you reaching out, and thanks for inviting me to talk today.
Yes, great. So tell us a little bit about what you do, and then we'll back up and you can kind of tell us how you got here.
Sure. Okay. So the term fractional CFO is sort of a loaded title because it can mean a lot of different things depending on the specific services that are being offered. But essentially, I work with business owners primarily in the revenue range of $3 to $10 million per year, particularly construction and the trade services, but not necessarily limited to that. And what I do as a fractional CFO is I help bring that financial strategy and stewardship discussion to the table where, it doesn't make sense for a company that's in the 3 to 10 million range to hire a full-time CFO. But on a fractional basis, you still need that strategy. You still need that insight and that financial clarity. And so what we do is we're able to bring that, but without you having to hire a full-time CFO.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool. So you're not quite a consultant, but you're not a full-time employee of them either. So
exactly. Yeah. I guess you could put it in the realm of consulting, but we do provide deliverables like financial forecasts. We look at, the company's cash flow. We identify goals. We're always looking to tie back. What are we doing with the money in terms of how does this help you achieve your goals and how does it align with your values? So we're always having those deeper conversations and looking at the strategy behind why we're doing what we're doing.
I like that. So you put the focus on them. How does this help them achieve their goal?
Yeah, especially when it comes to the cash flow and profit margins and just looking at understanding your numbers, making it simple, taking the guesswork out of it, and being able to make decisions for your company with a lot more objectivity and a lot less guessing.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because you're right. Because when you're running a business, if you're the owner or the operator or the CEO, you're so close to the numbers sometimes that it's hard for you to you miss the forest for the trees, so to speak. So it sounds like you give them perspective.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and a CEO is so busy. I mean, you've got your hands full already, and it just gets to a point where you can't wear both hats, right? So you need someone else to be responsible for that hat of the CFO, and then you get to have those really meaningful discussions together and have someone to collaborate with, at an executive level.
That's great. How did you come to be a fractional CFO? Did you want to do that when you was 4 years old? You just woke up and, Daddy, I want to be a fractional CFO one day. How did that happen?
It's funny you ask, because if you had asked me that in college, or if someone had told me, when I was in college that, however many years later I would be doing what I'm doing now, I wouldn't have even believed you. But basically what happened is I got my interest in finance in the first place because I had this goal of cash flowing my master's degree without any debt. And I had taken Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, and I had just a little bit of college debt, just enough to get a taste that by the grace of God, I was able to say, I don't want to do any more of that. So when it came time to look at getting a master's degree, I thought, okay, how are we going to do this? And so my husband agreed, yes, let's try to go ahead and cash flow this. But that forced us to learn how to really manage our money, to talk about our money, talk about our goals. How do we budget for this? How do we plan ahead? And, it wasn't always done gracefully. We certainly made mistakes and it wasn't perfect, but I really learned so much about finance through that whole experience, which included my husband getting out of the Navy, us moving from Guam to Denver, him going to seminary. We were living off of my teacher's salary at the time. And so it was just, there was so much life happening. And then our twins were born the same month that we both graduated with our degrees. And so you can't plan for the timing of that, right? So to not have to worry about how am I going to go back to work in order to pay off my student loans, and just to be able to make the decisions that were best for our family, that was what financial freedom meant to me. And because I had found just so much freedom in that accomplishment and in that process, I had friends and family asking me for help with their finances. And then I was leading, Financial Peace University classes at church. And, this was really fun. Like, this is really cool stuff. And so then I learned that people actually do that for a living. And so then I got trained to be a financial coach and was working with personal finances. And then eventually I realized, wow, so many of my clients are business owners. Why is that? And it's because at the root of it, they're having challenges with their cash flow and profitability. And I just loved working with those clients so much, and just their heart and their creativity and their passion for what they did. And I was like, this is my kind of client. I want to work with business owners. So then I just started diving into everything that I could learn about business finance. And then, that sort of naturally transitioned into fractional CFO.
That's great.
So
yeah, I love that. Love the story too. You got twins. That's awesome. And you had those when you graduated with your degree. What a present. What a gift.
Yes, definitely. Best graduation gift ever.
Twins as a diploma. Not many people can say that, right?
So true.
And you got two of them, one for each of you. So that was even better.
Yeah. Plus we have a third now.
Oh, wow. So. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And so your husband served in the Navy, and so I guess you guys have served in your churches there as well. And you said he got a seminary degree, so he's a pastor?
Funny enough, no. He also went to the secular workforce, got his master's in leadership, and went into software. Cool. But, using your gifts in the secular space,
well, hey,
right?
You know what? It's good to have a seminary degree regardless, because you can contextualize what you're doing in a workplace sometimes, and you kind of see these biblical parallels. Oh, yeah, that's what they were talking about. Work for the good of the empire, so to speak.
Definitely.
So that's good. Fantastic stuff there. So tell us, Lauren, so now you were telling me just before we got on, you've recently accepted an offer from another company. So you'll be doing this, I guess, full time. So you won't be a fractional CFO anymore. You'll be a full CFO?
Well, that's a great distinction. So I have been, self-employed for the past several years, and recently joined the team at KFE Solutions. So they're actually a fractional CFO firm. Okay. So I'm still going to be a fractional CFO to that team's clients, but with this fractional CFO firm.
How about that? I learned something new. So there's actual firms out there that hire fractional CFOs and just kind of manage all those under their umbrella there. That's good. That makes sense, though, that you would hire other people that would be like-minded there to do that.
Yeah, that was something I really appreciated about Michael and his team, is that, he and I really share the same values and that heart for stewardship. And he and his team have just done amazing things, and, they get great results for their clients. And so when he approached me about possibly, teaming up and joining his team instead of working for myself, that was a big change, but it was just such the perfect opportunity. And yeah, I just feel really blessed to be part of such an amazing organization.
One of the things that you learn being an entrepreneur is the importance of hard work. And you see things from the owner's perspective. I feel like entrepreneurs make, great employees if they ever make that transition. Certainly it's good being an entrepreneur, but to be self-employed, but to work with, after you've done that for a while and then go to work for someone else, I think gives you a different perspective. And so you tend to work better. They tend to work better for the good of that company, so to speak. And they don't have to be managed quite as
Yeah,
much.
I think there is something to that, because for me, it's always been about where is the place where I can fulfill what I think God has called me to do in the best capacity possible. And so there's going to be seasons of life where maybe for someone that doesn't mean being an entrepreneur, but I think it's such a situational thing. It's more of a seasonal thing for me. And this is just a season where, and it's such an opportunity that, I couldn't pass it up.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm just
good.
really
That's
excited.
awesome. And so now you said you work primarily with people in construction. How did you end up kind of specializing in construction? Did you have a background, or dad have a background in construction?
Oh my goodness. No, I think God picked that for me because early on, all of the prospective clients who were finding me and I was getting connected with other people, it just worked out that way. And I didn't have a background in construction, but I think that's one of the things that I can use to my advantage when I'm helping people, because I'm seeing it from a different angle. And I also don't rely on a lot of, business and accounting jargon. And so I can ask the questions. And what I found is that the more I just learn to ask questions and ask the right questions, the more patterns I was discovering in what was really going on in what the unique challenges were to this industry. And so I found it just a unique opportunity to really serve that industry, because I can come in and we don't have to be super formal talking about, we don't have to talk a different language of these KPIs. We can just have a conversation in normal English about what's going on with your finances and what we need to do to achieve your goals. And we can address the industry specific challenges, but in a way that is maybe it's a little bit outside of the box, or maybe we're able to think more creatively, or not be limited by some of the limiting beliefs that are really present, in the industry. I find that my clients, before we start working together, they tend to be the clients that are the kind of entrepreneur that is really hardworking, that has amazing integrity, that is going to get the job done right, that is paying their team really well, that really wants to make a difference in their community, and they want to be above board in everything they do and do everything to the highest standard of excellence. That's kind of hard to find, right? That's not, when you're talking about construction, that's not everybody. Right. And so to be able to sort of draw out of people like, this is so unique and this has inherent worth in the market. Because often these are also the companies that are undercharging. In my opinion, they're undercharging because they offer something so valuable and all they want to do is help and serve, right? And so we can look at that from a financial standpoint and go, okay, this is how we're going to achieve the profit targets that we need to achieve so that you can continue doing the good things that you want to do.
Yeah, that interesting you say that. I think a lot of times people with a servant's heart, they do tend to undercharge and leave money on the table because they do have that servant's heart. They want to make a difference. That's their call. Their goal in life is not simply to make money. I can't remember. I heard a quote recently, and I wish I could remember who it was. Not original to me. I wish I could tell you who the source was. But I guess ultimately God was the source. But
Right.
they said that, show me someone who simply wants to make a profit, and I'll show you someone who's miserable. Show me someone who makes a difference, but also makes a profit, and I will show you someone who's thriving. It's somehow where the quote, man, I may have messed it up just a little bit, but I think that's true of people like you're talking about that have that servant's heart. Is they're just there serving God in the way that they best know how. God has given them a specific set of skills and gifts and made them in a specific way, and they just want to fulfill their purpose. And so they take for granted sometimes the soft skills of integrity, the soft skill of just being a Christian leader, that and everything that comes with that, not just the integrity, but just in how you treat others, not just in pricing a job, not just doing a job right, but that work ethic that comes along because you recognize that everything you do as a Christian points back to God, points back to that witness for him, because you're doing this in order to fulfill your purpose of being a witness for him. This is your way of, as you go, going into the world and preaching the gospel and making disciples, right? I'm in the process of writing a book and was writing on my last chapter this morning and reflecting on my own journey with my grandfather. And he was an old country preacher, had about 12 people in his church, nothing fancy or to brag about or anything. And he did his best to bring me along with him and would try to teach me how to cut wood and hammer nails and things like that. I never did learn that stuff. I'm still not good at it today. But what he did teach me was integrity. He taught me the hard work. He taught me to love the Lord with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. He taught me how to be a disciple of Jesus. Though he wasn't trying to teach that, but as he was going, he taught me those things. And that's what these Christian entrepreneurs are doing that you're talking about, is as they're going, they're just serving the Lord and they're making disciples in their own way by being a witness. That they may not ever quote a scripture, they don't ever tell somebody that Jesus loves them, but in what they do. And that is a very valuable skill in and of itself. I think that's missing today, is to be able to trust that the people you hire is going to do the job right.
I think, to your point, it's about the way that we're doing everything. And so many of us want to steward our money well. We have that desire. And I see so many entrepreneurs who have just such a heart of generosity, that they have all these goals for giving, and they want to bless their teams, and they want to do the right thing for their customer. And so what we've got to do, though, is infuse that with the practical business sense, so that we can make sure that those things happen. We want that money to be a fuel for the mission. We want to make sure that we're making those strategically aligned decisions with the finances, so that it's not just about achieving those profit margins, but it's about, what do you want to do with that money? How can we best navigate your cash flow, your margins, your expenses, your overhead, all of these different things that are tied to the money. It's rarely about just the numbers on the spreadsheet. It's about what they represent and the story that they're telling. And so we want to get in there and make sure that the numbers are telling the story that you want it to tell, and that they're doing the things, and that they're helping you to fuel those things that God has put on your heart.
I love that. That telling. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that numbers tell a story. They're so, I forget, it's the left or right brain. I think it's the right brain. It's so analytical, and we don't think about creativity when it comes to numbers there, at least not in a nice way.
Oh yeah, I think there's a ton of creativity when it comes to numbers. Yeah, it's super fun to get in there and really bridge that gap and make, we look at the profit loss statement, we look at the balance sheet, we look at the statement of cash flows, but it's not just a set of financial statements that you file once a year for tax time. There's so much insight that you can get out of those when you understand what they mean and what we can do with them. It's a really powerful thing to look at, and it's not boring at all. It becomes very exciting, and it's not rocket science either. It's very learnable, and I just want everyone to feel really empowered and equipped. Like, I've got this. This is my company. I know how to make decisions. I feel really empowered and equipped, and I know what I'm looking at here.
And construction's pretty tough, just manage anyway, because you have so many moving parts. I mean, you got your cost, you got your materials, raw materials, yes. Then you got work in progress, and bidding a job is not just a matter of going out there and coming up with a number saying, okay, we're going to charge you $3 million to build this building, or $100 million to build this project, or whatever it may be. Especially today, as you hinted at, the labor market is weird. It's just, I mean, depending upon the sector you're in, you can't find anybody to do what you want to do. You can't find someone that has a skill set that you need them to have. And it seems like if you do, it's hard to find somebody that will do it well. And so you're trying to juggle all that. And then and one of the things you're talking about, leaving money on the table. When we leave money on the table, it prevents us from being more of a blessing to our employees as well. And so maybe we could take that money, reinvest in the company to make a better company, to pay better, and money, as you well know, money is not the driving force necessarily behind why someone stays at a company. It has to do with overall satisfaction with that job, which may be part of money, but it also is how they're treated. It also has to do with just the environment and the culture that exists in the company there. So I can imagine, though, I mean, there are just so many different things, the work in progress and then finished project, trying to figure out what you made profits and loss. You got work order changes and things like that. That's just so
Oh
much.
yeah, you get it. You've been in this business for a little bit, huh?
Well, ironically, when I was in the IT business, one of my customers was a construction company. And so I would hear their accountants, when they'd go in working on a system, I would hear the conversations their accountants were having and trying to make sure their balance sheets were calculating things right. So we'd hear these things of work in progress and, raw materials and cost of goods sold and all these different things. And so I would hear that. I just remember thinking, and they were a Christian company. And I just remember thinking, wow, this is not just a matter of tracking the cost of one item. This is a matter of tracking, so many different moving parts here, and those parts can change mid-job. I mean, you lose an employee and they hire another employee. You lose a month's time just ramping that new employee up to replace where the other was. So that's a challenging area. I respect anybody that has the courage to walk into a kind of a strange company, so to speak, and takes the time to figure out and where they are financially, and then take the time to not just do accountant speak and try to intimidate them, and you try to break it down, like you said, in simple terms, so that they have
exactly. Yeah, it's the opposite of intimidating. It's all about making the knowledge accessible and bringing clarity and insight to the conversation so that we know what do we need, what's next, what is the right next step to take. And to give you just a quick example of that, just the other day, I was walking through this with a new client who owns a roofing company, and we were just talking about some of the cash flow things. Cash flow is a really big thing. Yes, you're making money, but then you have a lot of expenses. You got to pay the bills, and there's so many moving pieces, and the money doesn't come in at the same time that the bills are due. And so, how do we get our heads wrapped around this? And so, we just took a really simple case study of, all right, on average, what would this cost? When would you get paid this? How much would materials be? How much would labor be? When do they have to get paid? And we just plugged it into a really simple visual cash flow spreadsheet so that we could visualize, this is when the money's coming in and how much, this is when the money goes out and how much. What kinds of practices can we implement? What kinds of processes can we implement so that, one, we're never experiencing cash flow shortage. Two, you're hitting the profit targets that you need to hit. And three, things are getting done in a way where your customer is really happy, and where your subcontractors are getting paid in a timely manner. And if you can achieve all of those, you've got a winning system.
Yeah, that's good. And then I can imagine as well, you said something that triggered a thought with me and it just disappeared on me. So just a reminder to everyone, if you're listening, we're interviewing Lauren Rilling. She's a fractional CFO, and fractional CFOs, essentially, she worked with companies that are $3 to $10 million a year. They may not be able to hire a full-time CFO, but they can hire her. And in this case, the new company that she's working for, and she'll give
KFE Solutions.
Say it again.
KFE
Solutions. And they have a website?
KFEsolutions.com.
Great. And so they contact them, and I'm sure Lauren will be more than happy to help you out with their company as well. But just wanted to interview her and just let her tell her story of how she came to be, how she glorifies God in a way that she serves Him and her purpose and her skill set and gifts as well. But thank you, Lauren, for coming in. We appreciate that. This episode, as I told you before, should air sometime in November, probably the second week of November or so. And we'll make sure that we let you know when it happens, okay?
Well, thank you so much. It was a great conversation. I appreciate you having me on today.
Thank you very much. You can be a co-creator with God by helping to echo our voices. Share our episodes with friends and family and on your own social media accounts. Give us positive 5-star reviews. The more positive reviews we have, the more visibility we have, and the more voices that are echoed through eternity. We often invite guests who are serving faithfully year after year, often in anonymity in their respective roles in ministries. God sees them, and the reality is for a good kingdom leader, that's enough. We do not do what we do for the accolades of humanity. We do it because we're called by God. But I believe that God uses people like you and I to continue those reverberations and echo them throughout eternity. You can partner with God by liking, subscribing, writing a quick positive 5-star review, and again, sharing those voices with friends and family and on your own social media accounts. Those reviews will eventually lead to other guests who have larger platforms that have more listeners who will then in turn listen to the show. And again, it further echoes those voices, which is the whole vision of the Echoes Through Eternity podcast here, is to continue echoing those voices that God is echoing through eternity there.